Action.
Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Dean, Ward Anthony Dean, like on my book, but just call me Anthony. I'm making this video. It's the first one of its kind for Dad Speaks, dadspeaks.com, and the YouTube channel, as well as the Facebook page, Dad Speaks. But what this is all about is just beginning the organization where my vision is to be a resource for fatherly advice, for principles, for just good things for young people, teens, adolescents to come, and just hear good things. There's not a lot of that around in the world. There's lots of negative influences, but I want Dad Speaks to be a positive influence. So that's what we're doing here today. So what we're going to do today is just have a discussion about a question that is just relevant, or something that a lot of people might face, or you may face, and it may be something that you just want to hear a reasonable, decent answer to, that could give you something to think about, and how it might give you another perspective and maybe help you grow in your life. And that's what it's all about. So the question for today is, and this is my daughter,
Judea.
And this is my son,
Malachi.
And you are how old?
17.
13.
Okay, I'm not telling my age. So we're gonna start off. We're gonna ask questions. We'll just have some dialogue, and hopefully it flows well, and it's something that will be interesting to you. So, what's the question for today?
Why should we believe in God?
Why should we believe in God?
And why should we go to church?
And why should we go to church? Okay. Did y'all hear that? You might want to speak up.
Why should we believe in God? And why should we go to church?
Okay. Okay. That's a tough one, because a lot of parents are pretty much like, because I said so, and that's about it. And you go to church because I said so, and you believe in God because I said so. Right? So I understand that that's how it goes down, but in the real scheme of things, you need a real answer. So by the time you reach the age when you have to leave your home, or you're out on your own, you need a real answer. Not just because I said so. You need a real answer that you can carry with you. And that's what this is all about. So, why should you believe in God? So I'm gonna start this answer out saying, why do I believe in God? And maybe that'll give you a perspective. Of course, I grew up in church, all that stuff. And basically my mother was, you're going to go to church because I said so. But as I grew up, I had to find answers for myself, and I had to live it. So I had to figure out, what is this really all about? And so one of the things that I learned was to look at myself. And believe it or not, I found an answer to why I should believe in God by looking at myself. And what I mean by that is, there's a chapter in my book, for many who don't know, I wrote the book, 7 Words You Should Know, Dad's Advice for the Journey Ahead. In that book, in the chapter that talks about create, I had a revelation one day, and basically this is how it goes. I basically said, when I look at myself, like a lot of what you all learn in school is evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they teach in science class now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is evolution. And what does evolution pretty much say?
That we came from
monkeys?
no, it's either monkeys or fish.
Yeah.
That
Monkeys,
they said
fish.
We were fish before. That's
Okay.
why our eyes were watery, because we adjusted to the water.
Okay.
And when we came out, we evolved into a human.
Okay. Okay. How, for you, is that believable for you?
The way my teacher who I had in 9th grade, who was at Jonesboro, the way he explained it, I was like, that does kind of make sense, you know? And I was just like, really? Did we really come from fish?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if we did, like, the fish in the sea right now, are they going to turn into humans or
Mm-hmm.
what? Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
why I just kind of... It was for a quick second, though. I'm not even going to lie. I believed it for a quick second, and I was like, nah.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
that's me.
What about for you?
Well, they said that we evolved from monkeys or gorillas
Mm-hmm.
because we just have the most characteristics in common. There's only like one characteristic that we don't have in common.
Okay.
I forgot what it was, but so I still don't believe that. Like what Judea said, if they did evolve to humans, why aren't there some half evolved right now that we see?
Right. Right.
I mean, they are smart, but I mean, still.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, there are questions about the whole thing of evolution or whatnot, which some people call evolution.
Oh, my God.
Just playing. I know it's corny. Please get used to my corny jokes. So I had a problem with that, with evolution. And what I found that helped me was when I looked at myself and us as human beings. And what I realized is that when you look at us in a physical fashion, like evolution talks about, you know, the reason how you evolve is you would pretty much you thrive in your environment. So if the environment is a watery one, you would thrive in that environment. And if it gets dry, you end up evolving to get on dry land. And if you're in dry land, if it's cold environment, you evolve into a creature that can live in a cold environment. And basically, it's survival of the fittest, and they call that natural selection. And so if you thrive in your environment and you're a little bit above the rest of the animal kingdom, then you thrive and you survive, and then the other ones die off because they can't handle it. That's pretty much how it goes. So in that thought process, if we evolved over millions of years, which that's what they say, it takes millions of years to evolve, why in the world can we as humans, we can't survive on the earth, this natural earth. We could not survive in our form. Have you ever watched this show, Naked and Afraid? Mm-hmm. Okay, so these people, these people are naked and they get put into a jungle and they have to survive. Mm-hmm. And they can barely walk because their feet are not made to walk. Our feet are so sensitive that we can't even walk on any type of really land because our feet can't handle it. And our skin is so sensitive. We stay in the sun too long, we get sunburn. Mm-hmm. And there's certainly certain things that we can't eat. And our vision, a lot of our vision is messed up. Like we can't see great. So some people need glasses, some people don't. Our hearing is not all that great. Our sense of smell is not all that great. We don't have nails where we can dig into land. If we need to just create something with our hands, we couldn't dig into the land. We're not built like that. So how is it that after millions of years, if we evolved and we're pretty much at the top of the food chain, how in the world is it that we cannot physically live on this earth, but yet we do? And we supposedly evolved over millions of years to be superior, but we cannot live on this earth the way most animals can. We have to be in a shelter, we have to have clothing, we have to stay warm. I mean, it doesn't add up, it does not make sense. And so when I looked at myself, I said, this doesn't make sense. What does make sense, this is what changed my mind, is we, as how we are, we make the environment that we want to make, which allows us to live anywhere we want to live. Mm-hmm. So we can go to the tundra and build an igloo, and we can go on the water and build a boat, and we can go in the Sahara and build a hut, and we can stay in a hot climate and build AC, and we can go in a cold climate and have jackets. Like, we were built to create. We were built, and so our fingers are made that we can stitch, that we can do things small, that we can build tools. Our brain is such that we can think of our ways, that we have an ability to see a vision and see what we want to do, and then take the resources around us and make it what we want it to be.
Right.
That's why we're at the top. It's not because we're physically great. We're not. We cannot handle this environment. But we can live in this environment because of our ability to create. And when I understood that, that's a God-given ability. It does not come from natural selection or it does not come from the Big Bang. It does not come from evolution. It comes straight from God, because God is a creator and he gave us the ability to create. And when I realized that I was created. I was not evolved from anything. Like, God created us. Now, I do believe in adaptive, that we can adapt to an environment. I believe that there's animals that if they're in a cold environment, they eventually, if after thousands or millions of years, can adapt to that environment and grow thicker skin. Like if you see Eskimos have a thicker skin. So those who live up in the tundra, they're able to endure a harsher, more climate because they've lived there so long that their skin is thicker, they have more fat, they can thrive in that a little better than a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And people in different environments can thrive in an environment longer because they lived there generations, and we've just adapted to it. That doesn't mean evolution. Evolve means you actually evolve into a different creature altogether, pretty much, versus adapting, so I'll say that for another time. But that's number one. So that is the logical. And I just said that without scripture, without the Bible, because I told you so, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and that's the reason why. No, I think if we look at ourselves logically, we'll realize. And then that's not even mentioning the whole part of our creativity of arts and literature and entertainment. Those things have nothing to do with living as far as surviving. All that has everything to do with quality of life. Mm-hmm. And so that's the second part to that, is that God gave us community and love and be able to enjoy one another and be able to enjoy life, because that's what he desires to give us, is to enjoy life together in community. Another thing I thought about was most animals, when they're born, it only takes them like how long to live before they're able to walk and pretty much, yeah. It's like really quick.
Yeah, it's quick, like a couple weeks, isn't it?
Right. It's like usually it only takes them a couple weeks. Like some, like as soon as they're born, they can start walking within a day.
Babies, that only took like a week, right, for them to get their vision.
Right.
That didn't even take long.
Right. So almost every animal in the animal kingdom can pretty much be on its own very quickly. Why is it with us? How long does it take for us to be?
To walk, it takes us like what, so 2-3 years?
Right. You start talking about, some start walking about 1 or 2 years, barely walking. Some of them.
And then you start talking.
Then you start talking at 3 or so. But you figure what it takes about, before you actually able to live on your own.
Yeah.
What, you got to be about 15, 16
Shayla's
maybe?
age?
Yeah.
To live on your own?
Right.
That's...
To be where you're strong enough to... So what I'm saying is, now look at the purpose for that. I think God intended that we have family, mm-hmm. that we have community, that we grow each other, that we teach each other, that we learn, that we pass things on. Mm-hmm. That's a quality of life thing, that we learn quality of life. There's a purpose behind that. And so that's what it made me think too. Like, God exists, and I know that there's a God because of all those things when I look at them. So that's the first part, right? All of that. Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
What do you think?
It makes sense.
Yeah. So, okay, so that makes sense there. Now, secondly, going to church and all of that. Now, I've told you guys about why we go to church. And the second part is, I believe because God created us, he created us with a spirit, that we have an eternal part in us. That's a spiritual part. And so, as spiritual beings and physical beings, just like you have to work out and take care of your physical body, you have to take care of your spiritual body. And if you get out of balance and don't pay any attention to your spiritual body or your spiritual self, that your physical self, your physical body, you'll be led into making decisions that are bad for you, because you have a whole other part to you that is a dynamic part to you that affects your life. And if you ignore your spiritual life, you'll end up making bad decisions, and you'll have a life that's chaotic or not really where it could be, because you're spiritually misaligned. And God wants to be able to communicate with you through that spiritual part. And that's why it's important, because you exercise that spiritual part. You learn to listen and hear God. You learn to listen and hear things that you normally wouldn't hear because you just turned off. You just don't you don't hear it. Some people, there's different religions that have different meanings for it or different terms for it. I say spirit, I say Holy Spirit. Some people say whatever it might be, third eye. Some people might call it, a connection, some type of spiritual connection, whatever it may be. But me personally, I think God has given us a spirit so that He can communicate with us, so that we can hear from Him, and that we can be able to relate and be able to see things that we normally can't see. And so that's the reason why. That's the reason why I think we should believe in God, and I think that's the reason why we should go to church, is to really just be better people and be better beings on this earth to make the earth better. Because the only way it makes it better is us. We all have to love each other, and we all have to respect each other, and we all have to be a community. And that's what makes this world better, is when you, understand your spiritual self and understand the part of you that's from God. And when you understand that, you become a better person altogether.
Right.
You can live better, and you'll be a better person just for each other in our community.
Facts.
Yeah. What do you think? Comments?
I agree with all of it.
You good?
To be honest, yeah.
It's all right. There you have it. So that's Dad Speaks. That's a little bit of nuggets of wisdom and principle, and hopefully it made sense to you, and hopefully it's something that you take with you. Think about it, and send a comment in. If you have a question, send me a question. If there's something that maybe your son or daughter, if you're watching, and your son or daughter might have a question or something that you thought about, send that to me, and we'll talk about it. And this is just the beginning of what we're doing, and but I want it to grow into being something that can help each other, and dads especially. If you're a dad, all my dads out there, let's get together and let's make it happen. Let's take the mantle of our community and take some responsibility and start speaking to the next generation. So the tagline for Dad Speaks is a transfer of wisdom from one generation to another, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish with that. So dadspeaks.com, Dad Speaks on Facebook, and YouTube, Dad Speaks. So God bless you, and you'll be hearing more in the future. All right. Good?
Yeah.
Bye. So long.
Oh.